Hello there, my dear loving souls. Welcome back to this channel and to this office where we talk about universal laws and practicing love and all that good jazz. Today we've got a spirit-led topic. It's all off script. I don't have any particular things that I want to say other than it's all going to be spirit-led. I do these once in a while. There are some pre-shuffled cards here on my desk in order to, not waste your time, in other words. As always, just make sure you grab a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, or a glass of water or a drink. I've got some water here with me, as well as peppermint tea to get us through this video series. And so the video series, the topic that has come through from the Energy and Spirit Oracle deck is this wonderful number card, number 6. It's called Up from the Depth, and at the bottom it's all of the words is releasing difficulty. So I will start off part 1, which is just talking a little bit about the facts and the universal laws based on the tarot cards that have come through. Part 2 will be all about the application as always. So we're just going to unpack these tarot cards a bit more and see if there are some practical tips that we can draw from these cards in order to help us in connection with the subject matter of being up from the depth and releasing difficulty. And part 3 will be getting a bit more messages from the spirit using their oracle cards or tarot deck on my desk. So part 1, let's just jump in. As I mentioned, it's card 6, Up from the Depth, and I'm just going to read the message from the guidebook in order to help you understand what this subject matter is all about. So number 6, Up from the Depth, releasing difficulty. A woman rises from a dark, watery place, heading up stairs that lead to a brilliant, peaceful light. This card foretells a time of great release for you, and all-consuming issues about to be resolved, or at least it is moving in the right direction. This difficult experience may relate to ongoing hostilities at work, financial problems, or unhappy relationships. Perhaps the depths you're coming out of are profoundly personal. It is also possible you've been in a deep depression dealing with chronic anxiety or lost in an ocean of grief. Whatever the source of sadness or frustration, the light of divine love is shining down, healing the situation. Although there may still be some remaining steps before resolving this problem, rest assured that a bright new beginning is near. And the affirmation is, I determine the direction of my life. I have the power to resolve any problem and live in my true strength and joy. And here we go, my dear loving souls. If this message and the card resonate with you, then perhaps you can start with the affirmation, with thinking it. So thinking loud, speaking loud, saying it out loud. And hopefully that's enough for the facts of this topic. In terms of part 1, let's just jump into the universal laws. As always, I talk about usually three, so universal laws, and for spirit-led topics, I like to draw on the tarot deck to see what comes through, what messages the spirit wants me to talk about in terms of universal laws. And so the first card that popped up is this 10 of Cups. And the universal law that really comes to mind, and it sort of caught my eye, was actually the rainbow. The rainbow, which as for me is a representation on planet Earth of light itself, because light then separates into a variety of frequencies of different colors, and hence the rainbow. We see the rainbow in the sky. It's a magical phenomenon. I love rainbows for a variety of reasons. And so as for me, because that caught my eye, I'm thinking it's all about the universal law of light. Light is a source of life, and in fact each one of us, i.e. is a spirit, and as a spirit we are a fragment of that light, and which also is synonymous with love, the power of love, or the energy of love. So that's what I want to talk about in terms of universal law. The other thing that when I saw all the cards, and I'll talk about this in a little bit more in part 2, but there is a strong message here that the context for, releasing the difficulty and being up from the depth, the context is very much home, foundation, family. So there's just this very strong message of that it's the foundation, it's the stability, it's your home, something of that nature. Now, that's not going to apply to every single one of you. Obviously, the message here talked also about, work, as well, or career, work context. But I'm just getting from the cards that I'm getting, I feel like it's a very strong home, family, relationships concept or foundation, which obviously could mean also financial issues, right? Finances are very important for any from the family, stability, foundation. So it could be you. I'm also getting that from actual number 6. So 6, the number 6 reminds me of home, family, childhood memories, usually harmony and balance as well, but because hopefully that's when everything is okay, when things are harmonious or balanced in family and foundation, then things are well. But clearly here we're talking about moving away from a difficult situation, releasing the difficulty and difficult moments in our life, and moving into a more hopefully balanced, harmonious and happy, joyful state and well-being. Alright, so that's the first universal law. Light, the power of light, the source of life. Light and love are synonymous. Okay. Now, the other card that has popped through, and it was immediately clarified. So the card that popped through was the Page of Swords, and that was immediately clarified. It just fell out by the number 4 major arcana, which is the Emperor. And the universal law that comes to mind from these two cards is the divine masculine energy, because the Emperor is effectively a representation of divine or God, the masculine, very strong masculine, patriarchal kind of energy, and everything to do with the concept of masculine, which we'll talk a little bit more in part 2 when we unravel what practical tips we could grasp from the cards that have fallen out. But for now, it's all about that divine masculine energy. And now if we talk about the third card that popped through to give us an indication of the third universal law, and the card that popped out is the 2 of Wands. Now you've got effectively an individual has a wand in the left hand, there's a wand behind him, but in the right hand he's got the globe, or sort of the world, and he's observing his options, the environment, from a comfort zone, being on top of his own castle. So for me, it's a very strong energy of 2. I've just given thinking 2, 2, 2. There's something about the freedom of choice, and I'm getting the freedom of choice into perspective, the freedom of choice to plan, and then the freedom of choice to act. So embracing, I guess, the mental element of thinking, pondering, observing, strategizing. We'll talk about that in part 2 as well. But also, if you have that plan, well, what are your actions? What decisions did you make while planning, and how did that translate into implementation, into doing, into action? So the universal law is that we all inherently have freedom of choice, and the 2 aspects that come to mind is that freedom to plan, the choice to plan something, or the choice how to plan, as well as the freedom to act, or the choice to act or not to act. Yep, so hopefully that's very clear in terms of what we're talking about. Up from the depths, releasing difficulty, moving up the steps with the light shining the way forward, knowing that there's going to be new beginnings. It's confirmed by the card itself, 10 of Cups, number 10 in numerology, new beginnings, rejuvenation, completion of a cycle, and new beginnings, but specifically the universal law of light, source of life, illumination, love. And it's quite clearly, when you look at the 2 cards, the sun peeping through in the main card here, illumination, light. We've got the Emperor and the Page of Swords to talk us through about, or remind me of, the divine masculine energy, and the 2 of Wands just reminds me about your freedom of choice. Freedom of choice is the universal law. In this context, perhaps your freedom and choice to plan, freedom and choice to act. Alright there, my dear loving souls, let's jump into part 2. Click on the link down below, and we will talk more about some practical tips and application of these universal laws in part 2. See you shortly.